You see, I wish that I could say that my life had a little fireworks or some drama, but it did not. My story started like a whimper, that little nag of pain that grows in your bones until you realize you have been living a dream that has been a dream that belonged to someone other than yourself way too long. My name is Daniel Carter. I am not any special person. That is what I thought at least most of my life. Average Joe. Mid-30s, somewhat fat, good solid job with a family of 2-bedroom condo in the suburbs of Chicago. Nothing fancy. I was most proud of the fact that I could somewhat repair anything that was broken in our home, including leaky faucets and a jammed printer. Lauren, my wife, however, always appeared that she was waiting something gazero, or somebody. Lauren was beautiful in a manner that helped my breath take away at times up to 8 years of togetherness. The kind of beauty that makes people turn around, the sleek chestnut hair, the eyes like polished emeralds, the high cheekbones, and the kind of laugh that could pull a man out of the blackest of moods. With that beauty there came ambition. She never wanted to stop, wanted more money, more thrill, more luxury, more just anything. When we first met, I believed I would be able to follow her. I was the young ambitious thing out of business school and eager to conquer the world. However, over the years it seemed that the finish line was moved further. Whatever the number of promotions I received and the number of hours I put in, Lauren needed more. And I did not want to make her less happy, and thus I tried. God, that is what I tried. I ought to have noticed the cracks soon. Perhaps I did, and I simply ignored that since I did not want to lose her. Not to mention, when you love someone, with all that you have in your soul, you will tolerate just about anything, even when we are in pain. At first these changes were small, a new handbag over here, an expensive dinner here, things I really could not afford but did purchase to see her smile. Lauren was as a top manager of a marketing startup company, and she had managed to secure this position due to her extreme persistence and charismatic nature. She earned pretty good paychecks, however. Her shopping preferences were out of our reach, so to speak. I did not take it bad at first. I thought that she should be treated well. However, after some time, I realized she used to groan loudly when I refused her a trip on a weekend or when I told her we need to stay at home and not go to some expensive restaurant. She began to drop hints, these not always very genial, and she would tease. His name was Danny, and he wanted to live a little, she would say, flicking her hair over her shoulders and going through some of her photographs of tropical beaches. Or, babe, this summer everyone in the workplace is going to Cabo. Want to go along with me, don't you? She did not actually say it, but it was obvious when she really loves me she would find some means to pay it. I overcommitted myself. I contracted side jobs, freelancing works, anything I could get. I even sold an old watch I inherited by grandfather so that we could take that trip to Cabo. I recall simply sitting on the hotel balcony and gazing at the ocean as Lauren uploaded pictures to Instagram, legs outstretched on a lounge chair, sunglasses straight, written in the captions, "I am living my best life." I was being treated as an appendage and not as a husband. I clearly recall the night when everything changed, as it happened yesterday. The reason is that it was Lauren's birthday and I had been planning an ideal evening since weeks. I booked a table in her preferred rooftop restaurant, one which gives a full view of the city skyline, where steak is ordered per ounce and cocktails served with edible flowers. I was in my one suit which did not quite fit around the middle these days. I wanted her to feel that I still made an effort. Naturally, she had looked delicious, jet black satin, gold ornaments, a smoky luster above her level brows. She was not only expensive smelling, she smelt of jasmine, and something sharper I could not otherwise describe. During dinner the first part was all right, but about the middle she was hardly eating her filet mignon. She would constantly go to her cell phone, giggle with texts, her mind flitting around as it always did except toward me. I attempted to shut it out. I informed her of a new initiative that I had been assigned at work, hoping she would be proud. Instead, she threw a glance and mumbled, "That is good, Danny." I put my hand across the table and tried to take her hand. She pushed it aside and gazed out on the lights of the city. She said it after a very long silence, in a half-absent way, as though she were speaking to herself. "You see, I only want you to understand, Daniel. I cannot afford to keep on deceiving myself that this is all I need. This life, I desire more. The kind of life that I desire is where I do not have to mind about money, where I need not stop at this. She waved her hand in a general direction at the table. I rolled with shock. I am doing it, Lauren. I am trying my level best. She snorted, a vicious-sounding little laugh. You absolutely would never be able to afford this life, Danny. Not mind fit. You are too normal. Then she looked up at me with flat and cold eyes. That is supposedly enough to others, but not to me. I wanted to raise an argument, to do fight, to make her see how much I tried. I simply sat down and stared, just numb. She got up, took her purse, and went away. I looked at an empty wine glass in front of her as I broke inside. Since that night, Lauren became even colder. She began to come home late, saying that she was overwhelmed at work. She concealed her phone. She began to lock it when she was in the toilet or even when she went to have a shower. One would hear hushed voices on the phone behind closed doors, and the rooms would ring with laughter as soon as I walked in the room. I assured myself that I was paranoid. It was simply that she was under pressure. Still, the truth was eating at me, gnawing at my stomach each time she flinched out of my touch, or turned away to gaze beyond me as though I were not existing. Then there were the credit card bills. Dinners at fancy restaurants we never went to as a couple, fancy spas, hotel bills that would not add up. When I inquired her on them, she waved me aside. Oh, it is simply work stuff. I was forced to entertain clients, she would utter, casting her eyes off the table. I was wishing to believe her. I actually did. It was one night after she fell asleep on the couch with her phone lying under the pillow that I could muster enough to humble myself and yield to the gnawing suspicion. I unlocked her phone when she was snoring next to me, shaking my hands. There were writings. There are dozens of them. By a number not knowing. The communications were sensual, flirty, sometimes explicit. Photos, of course, there were photos, selfies of Lauren in fancy lingerie winking at the camera, messages such as "miss you already" and "next time, there is no need to have dinner, just meet at the hotel." The world turned me around. I dropped the phone and sprinted to the bathroom, and I locked the door and vomited. In the morning, Lauren seemed fine, smiling at me and offering coffee, humming as she poured almond milk into her cereal. I looked at her hoping to see a slight hint of the woman I once fell in love with. I had to wait until her departure to work. My voice was tremulous as I spoke. "Lauren, who is Mark?" The spoon started to move toward her mouth, and then her gaze was immobilized. Instantly, I beheld the twitch of some sort cross her face. Fear possibly, or shame, then a shrug, and her features minted into a mask. "He is an ordinary employee." "Why?" I waved her phone with the messages on display. "Do not make me some tale." Her gaze was dead level at me. "Fine. I won't. I have been going out with him. Even months. Sure, Dan, I do not mind. And into this small dreams and this small life of yours you pushed me. I understand, Mark. He's ambitious. He takes me into places you cannot imagine. I am getting sick of this life. I do better than that." Her tongue bred wounding that was sharper than a knife. It was as though I was sinking. "Why, you did not just leave," I whispered. She pitied me with glances. "To see whether you ever would bust a step up. You did not, though. You are never. I should have something more than this, Daniel. I want somebody that can afford this life." She took an exit action, banging the front door like a hammer of justice. Days subsequent were a dream. I told them I was sick, and I could not get myself out of bed. I did not listen to my friends who were trying to reach out. I would let the bills pile, the house sink into dishevelment, the fridge empty with only stale takeout containers and a half-drunken bottle of wine. I dwelt on the thoughts of Lauren. All the memories, all the laughs, all the touches came as belonging to the past. Life a happier, a more hopeful stage of myself which I could never recover. I began drinking. but not too much, lest it become dangerous, but just enough to soften down the boundaries of the pain. I ceased to shave. I hardly took a shower. Work was the only thing which kept me going. I made a frantic plunge into it. I would work overtime, offer to work in all projects, and would learn all about my industry. At some point during that heartbreak mist, something in me went hard. I had vowed that I will never be a loser. I would never allow other people to render me small or ordinary or not enough. I would love to say it was some type of spiritual bottom, but it was more of a dirty affair. I was angry, battered, bitter, and raw. Not that I was not also determined. My company had joined in partnership with one of the local marketing companies, Lauren Companies, a few months later. The news came like a thunderbolt. Suddenly, I was able to get an opportunity. Not only to make the woman wrong, but to make my life back. I began to regularly attend all the meetings so that the execs of her company would get to know me. I labored like I never had labored before. I made pitches, I made suggestions, I did all of the networking as though my life depended on it. And then came a night after a very fruitful mutual project, and an email in my mailbox appeared. The CEO of a Lauren firm wrote to me. He wished to have a confidential interview. I was so near not going. The past Daniel would have given excuses. But now I was different, tougher, keener, hungrier. We went to a downtown quiet bar. He was an older man, with keen eyes, a fancy suit, a man whose perfume made you feel all the time that you were being weighed and measured. In such a way, he did not lose time. Daniel, you impressed me. Your thoughts, your productive ability. Now have you ever the thought of turning? I grinned with the bitterness escaping my lips before I could bid it in. Funny you should say so. My wife is your employee, Lauren Carter. His brows raised. It is your wife? I nodded. He sat back and thought. She's talented. No, you. You have something she has not. You are a go-getter. I love such. We even chatted long hours. Towards the end of a night he gave me a job. A good, actual employment, top management, high salary rates, shares purchase, everything. I accepted without giving myself an opportunity to remove the words. The following year I reinvented myself. I went to the gym, shaved my AAL, a new wardrobe. I have done leadership courses, have read all I can about the business. The more I succeeded, the more I won, the more I had new responsibilities, the more confident I was. At work, Lauren gave me little attention. She was too preoccupied with climbing up her own corporate ladder, flirting with the higher-ups, getting down to the office politics. I saw the looks, however, the look with which she stared at me out of the side of her own eye, the look with which her women friends would speak when I passed in front of them. Now I was different. Stronger. Smarter. I was not the man she left. Then all changed once more. The CEO invited me one morning in his office. I am retiring, Daniel, he said. I want somebody to succeed me. A person with a knowledge of the business who is not scared of making tough decisions. Someone hungry. He made me a proposal of the company. And like that, I was amazed. So what of Lauren? I inquired, scarcely above a murmur. He made as though to shake his head. She is not prepared. You are. The board does concur. In the afternoon I signed the papers. I was new owner. The boss. The fellow that is in command. The order of the day being the first? Restructuring. That was also saying goodbye to certain individuals, including Lauren. The day I fired her, the most painful and the most pleasant day in my life, was the day when I called Lauren to my office. She came in, confident, sharp-heeled, her head up. She smiled at seeing me sitting at the desk, and then it was her thought that she was going to be promoted, perhaps even given some token partnership in it. In place of this, I moved a folder over the desk. She read it, then ran her eyes over it, her eyes dilating in surprise. What is it? It was your severance package, I said in a quiet tone. Effective immediately. She looked at me with her mouth open. You cannot do this. I cannot be fired. I stared her right in the eye. Well, I can actually. And I have just done so. She was standing there, shaking and getting red in the face. Just because I left you, is it? You are petty. I shook off my head. No, it is business. You said to me I could never support this life. Well, now I have it. And there is no place in my business of a person who does not respect people around her. She went in a huff and banged the door. And I was free as I never felt before in years. One time Lauren had stormed out of my office and slamming the door hard so that the glass was rattling, but all I did was sitting there. I see myself sitting at my new desk looking at the blotter, which was made of leather, rubbing my finger over the stitches, my chest tight and my head buzzing. I would imagine I would feel triumphant, as though I had just won something. I only felt hollow instead. Tired. It was like I would have run a marathon on broken glass, barefooted. I cannot tell you how much time I spent there. However, sooner or later my phone beeped, and it was possible to read a message of my best friend, Will. Will, how was that? You alive? I looked at the screen. I thought that I would like to type something cool or something funny, but all I got to write was, "It is done." He went and called me at once. Dan, I was right doing what you did. She put her bed to. You have only just pulled off the covers. I smiled a bit. Will never failed to be on my side during those times when all the other people said I was in an illness of letting Lauren step all over me because I loved her so much. I said I know, but I did not seem to believe it. I put down the phone and closed my office door, but I simply allowed myself to experience it all. The grief, the anger, the relief, yes, even the shame. It was more than revenge, and it was more than business that warranted the firing of Lauren. It was the last piece whose strand is already breaking on the life I had lived, thinking that that was how I was supposed to live my life. At around 10 on the same night, I received an email by Lauren. There was no subject line. It is enough to say one sentence: "You did not love me. You simply wanted getting a victory." I gazed at those words long. I would have liked to answer and excuse myself, and make shortening explanations. However, I did not. There was always nothing to say. Mutual friends later explained to me that Lauren attempted to recruit an entourage of some of her former colleagues to depart with her right before quitting, but it bit nobody. It just happened that although she had so much charisma, she had burned a lot of bridges. She was too power-hungry and stepped on too many toes to get ahead, had thrown lots of people under the bus. I felt pain as I heard that, but it was not a thing to be surprised about. She also left our condo. Her name was not in the deed. One evening I came home and found her closet empty. Her perfumes and makeup were all packed. The drawers of the bathroom were empty. The key was lying on the kitchen counter, and a note: "I wish you enjoy yourself. You now feel like you are enough." I put the note back and placed it in my wallet. It was not all out of spite, but because I had to remember that no matter how much you may love a person, you cannot make him or love you in the same way. And sometimes when you win, you really lose. Essentially, it is just survival. I would love to say that everything changed, and right after waking up the next morning, I felt happy and hopeful. The fact was that the weeks which succeeded were among the loneliest of my life. The house was overly silent. I still used to reach out to Lauren in the middle of the night, as usual. Her ghost hung around everywhere, her laugh on the hall, her favorite mug on the cabinet, the perfume in the air when the sun just tripped the bedroom in the right angle. I found escape in work. I went into it with a vengeance. Long hours, early hours, back-to-back conferences. I was needed in the company. I had to make big decisions, others depended on me. In the beginning it was daunting. Whenever I wrote a check or headed a staff meeting, I kept looking forward to a point where someone would stand and shout, "What are you doing here, Daniel? You have not a seat here." Nobody did. Rather, individuals began to come to me and seek advice, leadership, direction. It was both horrifying and thrilling simultaneously. One thing, however, I was not able to escape was the rumors. The news of office gossip sounded as a bushfire. There were those who referred to me as a hero and those who referred to me as a villain. They were talking I fired Lauren because I was spiteful, that I was like a corporate hitman. At first I attempted to fight back, to justify myself, but I soon saw that no matter what I might then say, people would believe that which they wished. That way I ceased attempting to dictate the story. I allowed my work to talk. Carefully and gradually I began to make a new life, not only as a CEO but as a human being. I went to a therapist, which I would have never imagined. She had assisted me in opening up baggage of years, how I had allowed the voice of Lauren to wash away mine. We discussed my experiences as a child, how I was afraid not to be good enough, how I needed to make everyone happy even to the cost of myself. I began to take care of myself. I took up exercising, not to suffer my body but to gain it. I taught myself to cook, not just taking up microwave meals or ordering in. I rediscovered the things that I'd taken to loving: hiking, sketching, playing guitar terribly in my living room at midnight. It was the first time in years that I felt like, well, alive. Not only living, but being alive. I found myself renewing long-forgotten friendships with people I knew in college or the people I live around, with whom all I had said to were hello and goodbye. I organized a poker evening, and it is the first time the laughter in my house is not a memory. I began to travel, also. Not to fancy resorts or Insta-worthy destinations, but to the places which were important to me, like camping in Wisconsin, fishing with Will, going on a road trip through the Midwest. Every journey was just a small step back to regaining what I had lost in myself. I bumped into Lawrence some 6 months later in one of the coffee shops downtown. I had just come in after a run and I was as bad as I can be. I was hot, in a shower of hair, old shoes. She appeared to be different. Weary, wasted, her eyes ever darkened. She glanced at me, and attempted to turn away, but I engaged her eye, and waved to her politely. She approached, and we simply stood there gawking. "Now," she murmured, very low, "you look, Daniel, good." I nodded. "Thanks. You don't look too bad." I was as well meant as was in my power. She tried to play with her phone. "Well, you are doing all right. They all say that the company is prospering." "Yeah, it has been a crazy year." Smiling a little, sad and wistful, she answered, "I have always known that you could do it. I did not know what to do waiting. I did not know what to tell that. Some of me wished to know whether she was happy, whether she got what she was seeking. However, at that time I knew that it did not matter. Not anymore. I was only nodding. Take care of yourself, Lauren. You, Daniel, too." She turned and walked away, and I could feel weight being lifted off my shoulders. I was freezing cold, with a cold beer in my hand, and I was sitting on my balcony watching the city lights blinking. I was no longer sour or yearning to be with Lauren like I had done in years. I simply said good luck to her. I forgave her and I forgave myself. There was no longer the matter of revenge. It had nothing to do with win or lose. It was also about being the person I was born to be before life and love and heartbreak had tried all they could to squeeze me and make me fit a mold that never quite fit. Several months later I saw another new person. Her name was Julia. She had nothing to do with Lauren, warm, earthy, droll. We happened to meet in one of the company charity events, at which she properly introduced herself and remarked to me on the network system being incredibly awkward. She did not give a thought to fancy dinners and luxurious vacations. She desired to have a hike, have greasy burgers, and watch documentaries rather than go out. She got all my time and did not put me under the pressure that I had to behave in a particular manner to impress her. I was very long. I was not in a big hurry. Julia understood. She never forced, was only waiting to see what turns out. Love should not be like I was drowning with her. It was not thought to be as difficult as breathing. Rather, it was going to be naturally easy and safe. In hindsight, it is ironic how I felt. In order to be a complete person, I needed Lauren. It happened to be the truth that I had to lose her and find myself. I had to be in the lows to be able to know that I can create a better structure out of debris. Labor is good. The business is prospering. My team members do not fear me because I am cruel. On the contrary, they do not fear me because I am concerned. I was taught how to become the boss I would have wanted to be forever, strict, reasonable, and nice. I also came to know that power does not mean holding it over others, but being able to bring them up. Lauren went on, as well. She was last heard to have her own consulting firm, smaller and scrappier, but doing fine. We do not write, but now and then her name is in the business column. I wish her to be happy. I do indeed. As to me? Not by the standards of billionaires, I am not rich. But I am satisfied. Enough so that I can live, so that I can assist my family, so that I can take care of my friends. Just enough to realize that I am somebody, not average, that I am just what I should be. And on still nights sometimes I think of the time I had in that rooftop restaurant, of the man I used to be, of the man I am now. I would not do anything differently, not the suffering even, only because each scar, each heartbreak, each sleepless night has led me here to a life I want, of my own choosing. In case you liked my story, then please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel to watch more real-life stories.